Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're doing episode 1 of the 4 Down podcast. So let me explain to you what the 4 Down podcast is. We're doing 4 topics on 4 down each, and I can see in our very first episode we got a lot to talk about today, including previewing the AFC and NFC Championship games for this weekend between the Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs, and the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. On second down, we're going to talk about Sean Payton's retirement and how much of a legacy has he impacted on the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Saints. Third down is going to be about Aaron Rodgers and his free agency chaos begins. Whether he retires or goes to the Broncos or stays with the Packers, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And we're going to be talking about the overtime rules, whether or not they should change them or keep them the way they are. So let's get started. First things up is the AFC Championship game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch of a Week 17 matchup where the Cincinnati Bengals hosted the Kansas City Chiefs and won on a last-second field goal 34-31. In my opinion, this should be a good game. My only concern is the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line protecting Joe Burrow, as you see in the Tennessee Titans game in this past weekend's game. The Titans defense were just brutal against Joe Burrow. 9 sacks. See on the screen right now. 9 sacks on Joe Burrow with that Titans defense. Most times, if you're a quarterback, you don't win those type of games, but Joe Burrow somehow found a way to win. I mean, it's just an unbelievable job by him. But yeah, 9 sacks. Joe Burrow threw a pick, and he had a quarterback rating of 93.1, which, for those numbers, how did the Tennessee Titans lose that game? But Joe Burrow, he came in clutch when he needed to and gave his team a huge win on the road thanks to McPherson's kick, the rookie. But, back to this game, though, as we get started talking about this game, at Arrowhead, it's going to be one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. And Joe Burrow said there's no NFL stadium that's louder than the SEC, so this is going to be a huge test for Joe Burrow and company. And as for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, they just been straight up dominating the playoffs. I mean, back-to-back 42-point games, and if we look at Mahomes' stats against the Buffalo Bills, which many people believe were the top defense in the league at the time, Mahomes dropped almost 400 passing yards against the Bills defense, 42 points, and a QB rating of 123, or a passer rating, I should say, of 123.1. Just straight up dominating numbers for Patrick Mahomes' company against the Buffalo Bills. And me and my fiance were watching that game, and when the Bills scored a touchdown, I said, Mahomes got too much time with 13 seconds, 3 timeouts, and when they won the coin toss, I knew it was game over. What can you say about Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he's become one of the best quarterbacks, not only of today, but if he gets a few more really good seasons and gets a couple more Super Bowl rings, you could put him in the category for greatest of all time, but there's still early, plenty of time before we talk about him in the GOAT category. But as of now, Mahomes is playing on a different level. And the crazy stat of them all is he's actually never had a road playoff game in his career, which is insane. And he's hosted 4 straight AFC Championship games, which is also a phenomenal stat by Mahomes and company too. And also it helps when you have weapons like Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the game, Tyreek Hill, who was dangerous, McCole Hardman, Edwards-Helaire, and also that Chiefs defense with Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark. I mean, those guys are just dangerous up front, and especially like in the secondary with Tyrann Mathieu and company. So, and the odds are for this game, the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite to win this game. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this game in my opinion, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think it's going to be. Now, the main factor, the X factor in this game is going to be how is Joe Burrow's line going to hold up against the Chiefs' defensive front? Because if there's a same performance that the Bengals offense did last week, where to give up 9 sacks, I don't think it's going to be 9 sacks, but it's probably going to be maybe 5 or 6 sacks, then the Cincinnati Bengals are in trouble. I think Chiefs are just too much for the Bengals to handle, as they are just straight up dominating. They're scoring 42 points a game. Even in a dogfight against the Bills, they're still finding ways to win. But I just think with all the weapons and, at Arrowhead too, the loudest stadium in the NFL, I think the Chiefs are going to be too much for the Bengals. And I'm going to pick the Chiefs a 38-34 win over the Cincinnati Bengals and they're going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. But as I mentioned too, before we get to the NFC Championship game, last time these two teams faced, Jamar Chase had a big day, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Burrow, just insane numbers, 449 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Mahomes had a nice day too, but that was at Cincy. I think this time is going to be a little bit different here, especially at Arrowhead. I think Mahomes is going to just straight up dominate, and who knows. But yeah, 38-34, I think that's going to be the score of the game. I think it's going to be a close game, high scoring, but it all depends on how the offensive front does against the Chiefs' defensive line. As we get on to the NFC Championship game, this game is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be the better of the two. You know, these should be both exciting conference championship games, but this one I think I'm more excited for. And I'm just going to get out of the way now. I am a Packer fan, so that's saying something a little bit. But this NFC Championship game is going to be a lot of fun, in my opinion. You got division rivals in 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. You got the 49ers who have straight up been dominating the Rams over the last 3 years. Last time the Rams won a game against the 49ers was 2018. Sean McVay's second season. And Kyle Shanahan just won 6 straight against him. And I mean, who knows? Maybe they can make it 8. Maybe they can make it 7 straight this Sunday. The 49ers, let's start with them first. They're just straight up dominating this postseason on the defensive side. Offensively, they have not been, the flashiest of teams in the playoffs, but they've been straight up dominating on defense. I even said this, last week when I was talking to a couple people about the Packers-Niners game. I said, if the 49ers defense wreaks havoc on the Packers offensive line, I think the 49ers are going to win this game. And it was true. The Packers offense was stalled, and as we look at the numbers between the Niners and Packers that night, 5 sacks on Aaron Rodgers. And Matt, remind you, this is against the back-to-back MVP, an offense that was number 1 in the league last season. Bit of a decline, but they're still like a top 10 offense. 5 sacks on Aaron Rodgers, 10 points, and holding Aaron Rodgers to just under 230 yards. And that's very impressive for the 49ers defense. I like Nick Bosa. I like Eric Armstead. The secondaries can be choppy at times, but that defensive front with the 49ers is just downright dangerous. But bringing pressure on Aaron Rodgers and forcing Aaron to throw at Devontae Adams, that's what gave him the win. And not just the Packers, too. Let's take a look at the last 3 games by this Niners defense. I mean, LA Rams week 17, they were down 17-0, but after that, they've held the Rams to only 7 points. 5 sacks and 2 interceptions against the Rams that game. And you go to Dallas, they have 5 sacks again, 17 points and 1 interception on the road at Jerry's World. And then last weekend at Lambeau, 10 points, 5 sacks, 225 yards, as I mentioned. This Niners defense had 15 sacks in the last 3 games. 15 sacks and holding opponents to about under 20, maybe average 20 points in the last 3 games. Maybe a little bit less than that. But the bottom line is this 49ers defense is just downright dangerous. And they're peaking at the right time. But on the other side, you got Matthew Stafford and company, which we look at his numbers from last week's game against the Buccaneers defense, which the Buccaneers defense are no joke too. But Matthew Stafford just straight up dominated them too. 366 passing yards, 30 points for Matthew Stafford, including that game-winning drive where he threw the ball to Cooper Kupp down the field. And Matthew Stafford had a passer rate of 121.2. But let's talk about the Rams offense real quick. Back real quick. I mean, Matthew Stafford got lots of weapons. Cam Akers, Sonny Michel's pretty good. And the receiving core, Cooper Kupp, obviously a top 5, not only receiver, but top 5 player in the league this year. Definitely going to be a consideration for MVP, even though I don't think he's going to win MVP. But also, you got Odell Beckham Jr., Van Jefferson, who's been pretty good too. I mean, not 49ers, the Rams have so many weapons that they can beat you, whether it's on the air or on the ground, especially with Cam Akers back. I know he had a rough game against Tampa Bay with a couple fumbles, but, he's still Cam Akers, Sonny Michel. They're still great in the backfield. And don't forget about the defensive side of the ball too. Von Miller, Eric Weddle came out of retirement to sign him to join them on a playoff run. Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the league. I mean, they got weapons on both sides, and that Rams defense been pretty well too. Especially now, especially like the past couple weeks, I know people were going to talk about the letdown after being up 27-3, but at the time they're just been dominating against Kyler Murray and Tom Brady, two of the top quarterbacks in the league. But this game, it's gonna be a coin flip, to be honest. No pun intended from last overtime, but it's hard to pick whoever's going to win the game. I think if the 49ers defense continue the way they do, they have a real shot, but I just don't see it happening against Matthew Stafford on the road, especially the way Matthew Stafford's been playing recently. Ever since he lost to the Packers in that Week 12 game, he's been playing pretty good. He's had some bad games, but it's still Matthew Stafford in the offense. Sean McVay's one of the top head coaches, but I just don't think it's enough for the Niners to overcome the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win this game, but I do think this game is going to be an overtime game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Matthew Stafford gets the third time the charm against the 49ers, and is going to be the second team in NFL history to be playing in their home stadium for the Super Bowl. So I think the Rams are going to win 30-27 in overtime. But if this is the 49ers' last run, they have nothing to hang their heads for. This is a great 49ers team. I think it'll be a great 49ers team for a long time, especially if they keep their defensive front. And they have playmakers offense too with Deebo Samuel. I didn't even mention him at all. Kind of feel bad about that. Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell. There's a great team all around. So I think the Rams are going to win this game in overtime. So our quarterback prediction is going to be the Chiefs and the Rams in the Super Bowl. Who knows? I think, based on how the season goes, it might be the 49ers Bengals. Who knows? But should be another fun, exciting weekend, especially championship weekend. So good luck to all teams and their fan bases. May the best team win, and should be a lot of fun. All right, now let's go to second down. Second down is going to be Sean Payton retirement. Earlier this week, Sean Payton announced his retirement from the NFL after 2020 season ended. But there's nothing much you can say about Sean Payton. He's definitely one of the top coaches in the league. He had Drew Brees for a long time. They've had a lot of success together. I know the postseason record could be a little better. They could have had some wins. But you can't deny how much Sean Payton meant for the city of New Orleans, especially after everything that's happened in years past. To come in and bring along Drew Brees too and help win a Super Bowl and get some deep postseason runs. It's just incredible for Sean Payton, and he's definitely one of the best to ever, one of the best to do in today's generation. Not really much to say on him, but other than, happy retirement, one of the best coaches in today's world, and who knows, maybe he might come back to coach. I've heard there's rumors that if the Cowboys don't go well with Mike McCarthy, he might come back, but who knows? But as of now, happy retirement to Coach Sean Payton. 152 wins, 89 losses, 9-8 postseason record, even though I think the Saints got robbed of another Super Bowl back in 2018 when they played the Rams. But nonetheless, a great season, or a great career, I should say, by Sean Payton and company. All right, now let's go to third down. Third down, when we go to third or fourth down, we usually talk about the topics are going to be like the most spicy at the moment. And right now, can't even blame them. It's going to be the Aaron Rodgers games. Let the Aaron Rodgers games begin, meaning what's going to happen in, next couple months. Is Aaron's going to retire? Is he going to play for another team? Is he going to stay with the Packers? Well, according to these stats are brought to you by CBS Sports. And the stats for, all the stuff I provided by Bleacher Report, ESPN. So, shout out to them real quick. But the odds of landing Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have the best odds to get Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos have the second best odds. And the Steelers have the third best odds to get Aaron Rodgers. Now, this one's interesting because we've talked last year about the media technically talked last year about how Aaron was probably going to go to another team. People thought this was it. People didn't think he was going to come back to the Packers after another letdown in the playoffs. And there was some speculation that like he's going to stay, because you still got all these receivers and you got all these playmakers. And they've picked up some free agents like Devondre Campbell and Rasul Douglas. But after another postseason letdown again, who knows? Aaron's going to be back at the Packers. I mean, I thought last year he was done. And I think this year he was done. I mean, he looked defeated after losing to 49ers. So who knows? He even sent him a Pat McAfee show saying he's going to take some time, but he's going to make a quick decision before free agency so he don't, be disrespectful to the Green Bay Packers, because he feel like they'll be kind of like a stab in the back if he tells them after free agency that, hey, I want to, retire or play for this team. So he's going to take his time, but it's not going to be too long. We'll find out maybe by late February what he's going to do. But there's lots of teams out there that need a quarterback, and to be honest, I think it's going to come down to probably two teams other than the Packers, and I'm going to explain why. So right now, the three teams that are probably the most favored to land Aaron Rodgers under the Packers are the Broncos, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Indianapolis Colts. Me, personally, let's start with the Broncos real quick. Broncos have a strong defense, and Bradley Chubb and Patrick Surtain, and, offensive weapons like Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant and company. Offensive line is pretty good too. But the only problem I think for them or for Aaron Rodgers to go with the Broncos is you're playing the AFC West against Patrick Mahomes twice a year and Justin Herbert twice a year. But the strong defense is a plus for the Broncos. Upcoming young talent, like I said, Jerry Jeudy and all them guys, they're playing really well too. But the biggest thing I think that can make this happen is just recently, I made this last night, just recently, Nathaniel Hackett is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And Hackett and Aaron Rodgers are so, close. They got a great relationship. They got great communication. And I think Nathaniel Hackett is going to try to recruit Aaron Rodgers, maybe. Who knows? I just think... I don't know. I just think he could just be like, hey, Aaron, you want to come to Denver with me? We can join you can bring Devontae Adams along. And, because Aaron always spoke highly of Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett always spoke highly of Aaron Rodgers. So I think the relationship between those two guys are close. So that could be another reason why Aaron could go to Denver. Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are probably not getting Aaron Rodgers, but they're the second best team. I think they're going to probably try to get a quarterback in the draft. Probably Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. So I don't know if Pittsburgh will be the top destination, but I include them on there because they're one of the favorites. But the reasons why I think Pittsburgh could get Aaron Rodgers, top 5 defense, T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward. Guys, year after year, Steelers just build a great defense. There's one thing about the Steelers you always just are amazed by: building great defenses and building talented receivers. And that's another thing, weapons on offense too. I know people are going to talk about Juju and Claypool off the field with TikTok and everything, but on the field, they're talented. Obviously, Chase had some controversial plays, but, Chase Claypool is a talented receiver, same with Juju. Deontay Johnson's getting up there. And you also got the backfield with Najee Harris and Benny Snell. Their offensive lineman isn't the best, but if they improve in the draft and free agency, that could be, a team to look out for. But also, too, in their division, I think with Aaron Rodgers, you could possibly beat the Browns twice. You could probably split the Bengals. Ravens, you could probably beat twice, too. Maybe split with them. But, and also Mike Tomlin, too, is another reason I think Aaron could go to Pittsburgh. He always talk highly of Tomlin. I know people like to have controversy on Tomlin's, questionable play calling, coaching. But Mike Tomlin's still like one of the top coaches out there. I mean, never had a losing season, so that tells you something. And who knows? Who knows? The guys like Aaron Rodgers, they're gonna take him to the next step. But those 3 reasons I think why the Pittsburgh Steelers should go after Aaron Rodgers. Top 5 defense, they have weapons in offense, and I think Mike Tomlin is one of the top coaches in today's game. Even though I think some fans will disagree, but he never had a losing season. And last but not least, the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts, in my opinion, if Aaron were not to come back to Green Bay, I think the Colts will be his best shot. Strong defense. Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, solid corners. Strong offensive line. Top 2 running back in Jonathan Taylor. Got some weapons. Pittman on offense. Frank Reich's a great coach too. And, if they were to move on from Carson Wentz, I think Aaron Rodgers could probably go to Indianapolis. And also, the biggest thing is a weak division. Jacksonville and Houston. Aaron can get 4 wins against them. Tennessee, you could split. Tennessee might be a little different after seeing them, but Tennessee you could split. So their division not really the strongest, so other than Tennessee. So you can get like 5 wins right off the bat, maybe 6 wins. I mean, there's no guarantee in the NFL, but with the way the Colts been playing, if they just have Aaron Rodgers, it could take them to the next step. But I think with a weak division and everything. But yeah, I think the Colts would be a great option for them. But overall, I think the Indianapolis Colts are the best fit for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, who knows? Denver Broncos, Pittsburgh Steelers could jump in there and take him away. But if Aaron weren't to come back to Green Bay, I say, in my opinion, Indianapolis would be the top spot I would put him. But in reality, it could come down to Denver too, just because of the Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers relationship. But I think that's about that. On to the 4th down. So the 4th down is usually the most kind of like top controversial topics to talk about in the sports world. Right now is the overtime coin toss. I think the overtime coin toss rule, or overtime rules should change. Teams that win the coin toss are in the playoffs in overtime are 10-1. Let's look at some coin facts. Some coin flip facts. In the NFL, teams win-loss record for teams are 86, 6-7, and 10 under current overtime rules. Don't mind a typo. That man said rules. But so basically, if you win the coin toss, you'll win 86 times out of pretty much 37. You win in ties. Playoff teams are 10-1 to win the coin toss. And interesting thing, the Chiefs actually proposed the rule back in 2019 to change overtime rules after Tom Brady defeated Patrick Mahomes in overtime. And Andy Reid and the Chiefs went to propose this rule, but they said no. In my personal opinion, I think overtime rules should change because, and I get people are going to have, talk about everything, saying how the Bills defense should have stopped Mahomes 13 seconds, or they should have stopped him in overtime. But the thing about it is, it's just like the Bills played perfect football. Offense was great. Like whenever Mahomes scored, Allen would score. Whenever Allen scored, Mahomes would score. So, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just like the Bills and Chiefs are just back and forth. But unfortunately, a team had to lose that game. Both teams deserved to win that game. I mean, they played really well. Gabriel Davis had a tremendous night, monster night, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. But when it comes to the overtime rules, I think that they should be flipped, or not flipped, but changed. I think both teams should have a chance at a possession. maybe the first time, like if both teams don't drive down the field and score, maybe they should play second overtime from like the 25, like college rules. I don't know. There's something thrown out there, I think, because I know the league probably wants to keep them like not as long, because I think that's why they do this rule too, so that they don't cut over time programming and everything. But you want to have a fair shot, and I think we all know Josh Allen deserves a shot at overtime to get the ball and drive in the field and score, especially the way he's been playing. I mean, Josh Allen's on fire. He threw 9 touchdown passes and 0 picks in his playoff games this year. So just, an outstanding performance by him. And Patrick Mahomes has been incredible too. Like I mentioned, 378 yards, 42 points. I mean, he's just been unreal. But when it comes to giving teams chance, I mean, prime example too. I mean, I don't want to talk about the Packers, but their 2 playoff losses back in 2014-15, Aaron Rodgers never got the ball after tying the game. People would love to see Aaron Rodgers try to run down the field and score. Also, same with back in the 2019 game. People would like to see Mahomes go down the field and possibly tie a game against Brady, maybe go for 2 and win. It's a tough spot, and I understand some of the rules that come with, but if you want, and also too, I think it would make the league better, getting ratings too, because Mahomes scored. Let's see if Josh Allen's gonna score. They probably, I don't know, I just feel for Buffalo fans. It is gut-wrenching to lose like that, especially since you've been playing a perfect game all game long. But that's my thought. I think, overtime rules should change. I think both teams should get a shot, and I think after that if both teams get a shot and after that they don't score, then they should start at 25. That's my proposal. I think it made the game more interesting. But who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know what you think about the comments below for all the other topics we talked about today. I know I probably messed up a little bit. I mean, it's my first podcast in a while. Well, I mean, I've done podcasting years past, but this is a new podcast, and I'm really excited to do it. I'm excited to continue growing and continue delivering this content, even though it's the first episode. But thank you so much for watching this podcast. We'll have a new podcast every Thursday, and until the schedule gets changed, I'm going to let you know. But right now we're doing 1 episode a week. We're going to do 4 topics out of the entire NFL and talk about them. I feel like these 4 were some of the best to talk about this week. With the AFC Championship game, NFC Championship, Sean Payton. I know we didn't talk about Sean Payton a lot, but there wasn't really much to talk about, other than just how much of a legacy he built on in New Orleans and how much of a winning culture he did. But also, too, with the Rodgers game, Aaron Rodgers right now being a hot topic of everything, along with the overtime rules, those 2 I felt like were the most crucial. But let me know what you think. We have a new podcast every Thursday on YouTube. Spotify's not available yet, but I will try to get that as soon as possible. But yeah, guys, so thank you very much for tuning in to the 4th Down podcast. I'm your host, Alex. Tune in next week as we get ready for 4 more topics on 4 more downs. And we will talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your day.